Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another reaction video on the channel today. I'm also Shadow Lord, and now we all know legendary Godzilla has taken on many forms over the years, but today we're going to be reacting to the evolution of all his designs by Goji Center over here. And before we start reacting, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join the channel. And without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. 3, 2, 1, play.
In Godzilla Kong, the New Empire, we witnessed Godzilla's latest evolutionary state. But will the G-Man be able to grow past this?
I hope he keeps his evolved version from the new one. I like that. It's probably my favorite design.
Can he get even more powerful? Today on Goji Center, we'll delve into the evolution of the King of the Monsters, understanding how and why he had to shift to the next stage of evolution, bringing forth the strongest Titanis Gojira of all time. Subscribe to not miss any more episodes breaking down the G-Man and other epic titans. Coming up, the evolution of Titanis Gojira explained. In this episode, we'll cover all of Godzilla's different forms, beginning when we saw him in live action in Apple TV's Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Here
that
we
is
are
a good show. I highly recommend you guys check it out.
2014, back to the year 1954 in Bikini Atoll during the Castle Bravo nuclear tests. These so-called tests were actually a way to lure Godzilla into a trap.
Look how well that turned out.
The end of the last surviving Gojira specimen would actually mark the beginning of Godzilla's outstanding evolutionary journey. Here, Godzilla seems very lean, almost young, and nowhere near as bulky as his later appearances. Additionally, we see that his dorsal plates are straighter, pointy, and jagged in appearance. It's unclear how tall he was during this time period, but he was likely around the 354-foot range, similar to his height in 2014.
I'd say he looked a little bit shorter, I think. Maybe after the bomb he got a little bit bigger.
Prior to this moment? Was he always this lean in appearance in the millions of years he's been roaming the planet? Well, probably not. If there's something we do know about the G-Man is that he's been around not only for a very long time, but during many global crises and Titan wars. That's right.
This Godzilla is a survivor.
Not fared too well against other Titans like Ghidorah or a whole army of great apes. Evidence to support the theory that Godzilla was likely a bit bulkier is the depictions of ancient cave paintings, showing Godzilla himself going up against other kaiju like a great ape and Ghidorah. Note how in these depictions, Godzilla isn't the skinny lizard we see in 1954. He's a bit more nourished, to say the least. So, what happened? Just like a bodybuilder who takes a year off from working out, or a bear who wakes up after hibernation, there are definitely some consequences of being inactive for a long time. These repercussions come in the form of lost body mass. Maybe he wasn't as tall back then, but likely more bulky. But not enough to take on a certain member of the great ape species. Yeah, if you didn't know, there's actually a record of a hard L handed to Godzilla by this fella. Known as the Rival, this dude was actually strong enough to kick Godzilla out of his house.
Well, technically he was a little bit younger.
The G-Man wasn't 2024 big, but probably similar to something like 2014. It's no wonder that Godzilla
maybe a little bit shorter.
Titan War resorted to using geological means to deal with these apes. In GXK, we learned that instead of taking on Scar King and his army of apes in hand-to-hand combat, he instead simply trapped them in a giant cave, leaving them at the mercy of Shimo. This ended up backfiring, but the point is that Godzilla was nowhere near as big and strong as he was during the years 2015 and beyond. But after these events and a long nap, Godzilla probably woke up around 1954 a lot skinnier. This nuke would only end up helping Godzilla get stronger, bringing us to the year 2014. At this point, after 60 years, Godzilla would have gained a little more mass, but barely any height. His spines, which are a key indicator of his maturity, were still more or less the same as his form in 1954. The real change between this form and the previous was the amount of mass he carried around.
I really do like the 2014 design, because it was my favorite for a long time, but until the evolved version came out, that kind of moved up. So this is my second favorite.
Death to those unfortunate to be deprived from it. As was the case with Dagon, another Gojira specimen with similar proportions to Godzilla in 2014, but lost a fight against the Muto Prime and served as an incubator for the two Mutos seen in 2014.
R.I.P.
Godzilla would
Dagon, by
now
the way.
have the acquired mass necessary to avenge his relative thanks to the atomic bomb. This was a brave new world Godzilla was living in now. Radiation was now easier to acquire, and recharging times were exponentially less than before.
Yep.
Instead of taking a nap that could last years next to a radioactive source, Godzilla would just rely on staying near or consuming the energy from any nuclear source. Here, Godzilla was able to take on two Mutos and tank a great amount of damage before defeating them.
That is
But at
true.
what point would Godzilla end up switching up to the form we see him in King of the Monsters? Well, shortly after the events of 2014, or known as
G-Day.
Godzilla ended up having a confrontation with the Muto Prime, aka
Yep, from
the parent
Godzilla
of these two
Aftershock.
Mutos.
That is a good
After a
comic
few
book. I highly
skirmishes, their
recommend you
last
read it.
confrontation ended up costing the G-Man his dorsal plates, shattered by the Muto's sonic roar.
Muto Prime was
Fortunately,
the
though,
only villain who
Godzilla
actually
was able
managed to
grow
break
these back,
something
but they
from
returned
Godzilla,
looking
actually.
different. Godzilla had leveled up to the next stage in his evolution.
Yeah.
That's right, the next evolutionary stage featured a new shape for his dorsal plates. This shape, though, was not exclusive to this Godzilla. This shape marked the next stage in Gojira evolution.
Okay.
We know this because there was another Gojira that also reached these stages. One killed by the great apes and whose dorsal plates were used to create the axes in
With the
Kong's
axe
throne
for
room.
Kong.
This is our indicator that there were, in fact, more Gojiras that reached this evolutionary stage back in the day. And Godzilla had just entered this stage.
Yep.
Shortly after, he retreated to Algeria in the Sahara Desert, where the G-Man buried himself for a nap. Here is where Godzilla was able to grow his plates back to this new form. But not only that, begin another
I feel like the
growth
dorsals
spurt.
would have
We'll
been
see
a
how
little
tall
bit
Godzilla ended
smaller,
up
at
growing
least
up
in my opinion.
2019, but first we must
To
note
show
that at
he would
this
have
rate,
still been
Godzilla was
regrowing.
already beginning to regain mass again. His more muscular arms capable of quickly dispatching titans such as the Ion Dragon, and even though becoming heavier, the G-Man was now able to move faster, his attack maneuvers covering more area in less time, preparing him for what is to come in 2019.
Yeah.
At this point in time, Monarch had finally caught up a little bit with the realization that there were a lot more titans around the world laying dormant, and that Godzilla and Kong weren't the only ones around.
Nope.
One in particular, known as Monster Zero, was the one to look out
Ghidorah.
for. Fortunately, at this point, Godzilla had reached the peak of his next growth spurt, reaching 393 feet in height and gaining more body
I
mass.
feel like he was
enough
able to
once
grow to
again
that
fight
height
titans
after the
like
bomb in the
Ghidorah.
movie.
Except this time, Godzilla
he looked
had
a little
unlocked
bit
a new
smaller in the
evolutionary
Arctic, but
boundary
I think
and was
that's
now
just me.
taller. In Godzilla King of the Monsters, during a battle in the coast off Isla de Mara, Godzilla and Ghidorah were both caught up by a new man-made weapon known as
The
the
Oxygen
Oxygen
Destroyer.
Destroyer, which ended up greatly weakening Godzilla, almost killing him.
That is
Weakened
true.
and wounded, Godzilla retreated to the bottom of the sea in a lair he used to call home. Here, the levels of radiation were high, ideal for a very long nap. The problem, though, was that on the top, it would only be a matter of days before
The
Ghidorah
world was
completely
ending
wiped out
at
life
that
on the
time.
surface, and humanity did not have much time. So in response, a team was dispatched to blow a nuke in front of Godzilla to jumpstart him again. After a heroic sacrifice by Serizawa to detonate the nuke right in front of Godzilla's face, Godzilla was quickly able to recover, and this operation
Yeah, I feel
ended
like he
up
was
working
able to
a
grow from
little
that
too
bomb.
well. From here on out, Godzilla would have probably breached levels previously unknown to his kind. Thanks to modern-day nuclear breakthroughs and his ability to harness radiation, Godzilla's body nearly reached an equivalent of a nuclear meltdown. We hear this all the time, but what does this actually
Kind of like
mean?
burning
A
Godzilla
nuclear
from Godzilla
meltdown, by
vs.
definition,
Destroyer in
is
the
when
Heisei
inside
era.
of a nuclear reactor gets so hot that it causes the fuel to melt. This can lead to dangerous situations where harmful radiation might be released, or in Godzilla's case, explode and die. Why did this happen to the G-Man?
Exactly
Well, let's
like
say his
burning
body
Godzilla
anatomy
in
wasn't
the
quite ready
Heisei
to
era.
handle this much energy yet.
Godzilla's radiation's reaching critical mass. 6 minutes until he blows.
Yep.
There was one temporary solution to this, however. Through some supernatural phenomenon during her
Thanks
death,
to our girl
was
Mothra.
capable of passing down certain biological properties that helped Godzilla regulate this temperature for a longer time. allowing Godzilla to reach near meltdown levels, but also to cool down during thermonuclear pulses, explaining why we see Mothra's wing pattern every time Godzilla expels one of these blasts.
That is true.
These not only served as an adequate weapon to finally kill Ghidorah, but also as an important means to cool down Godzilla. Using 3 powerful pulses, Godzilla was finally able to cool down to more manageable levels. Many confuse this thermonuclear form with a state that Godzilla can reach at will, but no, reaching this state is actually pretty dangerous for the G-Man and those around him.
Yeah.
After Serizawa's sacrifice, Godzilla had gained more mass during his recovery, recharged him with energy, and prepared him for his next task, establishing order around the planet. It would be a few years until we see Godzilla's next evolutionary phase, but shortly after King of the Monsters, Godzilla would find time to properly break in his new improved suit, fighting all sorts of titans on both land and sea, and over time becoming more agile. During the events of the graphic novel Godzilla Dominion, we see Godzilla's upper body strength drastically improve, capable of throwing titans around like ragdolls, swimming faster, and subjugating other kaijus in a short amount of time. Even going as far as seeking a rematch against the great ape that kicked him out of his house a long time ago, instead coming across and barely defeating the titan Tiamat, a stronger foe.
True.
Come the events of 2024 during Godzilla vs. Kong, we witness Godzilla using his upper body strength on Kong, admittedly facing the strongest ape he's ever faced. In this film, we only see a Godzilla who was now used to performing more agile maneuvers. That's as far as his development goes at this point in time. The next stages of evolution will unlock a level that no Titan has ever reached before. 3 years later, after Kong and Godzilla parted ways, Godzilla proved that his fighting skills remained sharp. After easily killing an already charged-up Scylla, Godzilla adopted her strategy of absorbing radiation by performing mini-raids on nuclear power plants and absorbing radiation and powering up at alarming speeds.
More power.
This, however, would bring back a problem that he faced in 2019. Remember how his body at this point in time is not capable of storing this much energy. He had pretty much reached a ceiling that could not be surpassed without getting once again near a nuclear meltdown. This irradiated Godzilla would now glow blue, expelling harmful levels of radiation and heat. In one instance in France, Godzilla once again used a pulse to fend off aircraft that were firing missiles at him.
I had a feeling like
but this time it
he
was
had
more
to
than just a
evolve
pulse.
in order to
This,
make sure he had to be
EMP,
stable
and this comes straight
in
from
an
the
attempt to
official
save himself.
novelization. In the real world, nuclear explosions can also serve as EMPs as well. An EMP is a burst of electromagnetic radiation that can also occur when a nuclear explosion happens near the Earth's surface or at high altitudes. Like 393 feet tall kaiju, for example. These then produce damaging current and voltage surges. New ability unlocked. EMPs are now added to the tally of abilities that Godzilla can wield.
Cool.
But this makes Godzilla realize he needs to solve another problem: energy capacity. If he was to fight a world-ender kaiju like Shimo, the G-Man needed to be able to wield more power safely. The answer would be found in the northmost parts of the planet, the Arctic. In the Monsterverse, the Arctic regions of planet Earth serve as a reservoir housing the largest stockpile of energy in planet Earth, courtesy of the constant bombardment of electromagnetic solar winds. This energy would build up here, taking the form as violet or magenta glowing matter. But Tiamat settled here first. Remember how Tiamat in Godzilla Dominion lost against the G-Man? Well, after that, she decided to settle here. After Godzilla got a whiff of this, he immediately decided that Tiamat was too dangerous to leave alive at this point, and that this destroyer kaiju needed to die right here. But Godzilla was first actually after this energy. After dispatching Tiamat in a rather brutal fashion, Godzilla settled in the icy caves that used to house Tiamat. It was here where the G-Man would go through his fastest and most powerful evolution yet. So, what exactly happened here? Upon waking up, Godzilla would immediately be noticeably different. The book mentions that Godzilla did not only absorb this new energy,
I love this
but
evolved
also
version.
went
It's
as
my
far as
favorite
absorbing
now.
some of Tiamat's biological makeup. possibly her DNA. This is reflected by Godzilla's more spiky appearance, Thagomizer on its tail, elbow spikes, and leaner build,
Yeah.
especially around the waist. Godzilla's dorsal plates, again an indicator of his evolutionary stage, were also going to be different.
True.
Translucent this time, glowing in the violet magenta coloration as well. But Godzilla's appearance now was not the most important part of this new evolution.
It's
It
not.
was his new molecular density. Why is this important? Molecular density basically refers to the amount of molecules that take up a specific area. If an area, for example, is full of atomic energy storing elements, then we can store more power. Now it's all coming together. Godzilla literally evolved to be able to store more radiation. 20 times more. Now, there's a
Okay.
common misconception that this means 20 times more powerful. There's actually a big difference. Godzilla's new evolution made him capable of storing more energy this time, not energy that's 20 times as powerful. But this Godzilla was
Facts.
certainly stronger and capable of better firepower this time. Being a higher molecular density in this case should suggest that Godzilla would have been heavier. At least he should. This is not confirmed. So, what is the end result? Now Godzilla won't
An
have to worry
excellent
about going
Goji.
through a nuclear meltdown anymore. He can now contain much more energy. And
So we
this
don't have
time
to
he
worry
can
about
actually
the big
reach a
guy
state
dying
similar to a
anytime soon, I
supercharged
think.
state at will, producing energy and atomic blasts that can cut through millions of tons of pyramid stone like it was paper, hurling world-ending kaijus like Shimo for very, very long distances, and most notably, ending an entire world-ending event like an ice age with just one blast.
Saving the
One
world.
may say, well, this guy is now too powerful. And this is
Undefeatable.
a valid point. At this level, there are very few things that can stand up to the G-Man that we know of right now. So now this begs the question, have we seen the end of Godzilla's evolution? The answer,
Well, I hope he
very
keeps this
likely
pink
not.
version of.
Or how else are these guys going to keep selling figures and toys?
Ha ha.
Just kidding. Besides that, the evolution of Godzilla has revealed the fact that the G-Man is capable of using just about any source of energy to better suit his and the planet's needs.
Yeah.
Who knows what other sources of energy there are around the planet,
I just
and
hope
what
he
type of
keeps the
energy
pink.
can be found in the hollow Earth. It's possible that if Godzilla doesn't come back to replenish this pink energy after a while, then it may begin to wear off, causing his coloration to slowly but surely return to his classic blue form while maintaining
Oh.
his more scaly and sharp features. His molecular density, however, might actually be here to stay, turning him into a vessel that can contain many types of energy. The number one trait that allowed the G-Man to live this long is his capability to adapt and evolve
Yep.
fast. Having said this, we haven't seen the last of Godzilla's evolution, and he
Nope.
may actually become even stronger against the ultimate threat.
In the next one. But well, I think that is where we're going to be ending the video. What do you guys think of the Godzilla's evolution? Do you have a favorite version? And without further ado, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Check out some of the other videos on the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!